Good evening, everybody. My name is Satyajit, and we are here to discuss one question from Indian society in our daily answer writing program. As I am faculty for Sociology Optional and Society, I would like to pick one question from Indian Society GS1, and that question I would like to first read. The question is about two important topics in GS1 Indian Society. These two topics are poverty and population. The question was asked in 2015 for 12.5 marks. The question reads like this: critically examine whether population is the cause of poverty or poverty is the main cause of population increase in India. Okay, so we are asked with two important points here: whether population is the cause of poverty, or rather poverty is the cause of population increase in India. And that was asked for 12.5 marks, but as this marking scheme is not now present, so we will consider this question for 15 marks and will design this question accordingly. If you can design the structure and if you can think about what can be the dimensions of this question, you will observe that both are the causes of each other and they are interdependent, right? So the first dimension can be, let's say, population. Yes, of course, it leads to increase in poverty. Fine, we can argue like that. Poverty increases because of population increase. Secondly, we can also argue with few points. Poverty is leading cause of population increase. Okay, and the third dimension can be in this answer. These two concepts, poverty and population, are interdependent. Okay, and increase in one leads to increase in other. Okay, so we have to cover these three important dimensions here, both of these concepts and the interdependence. And if you design this complete three dimensions in 3 pages, it will look like somehow like this. The 3 pages, okay, for 15 marks. And as formality, we have few introductory lines and few conclusion lines here. Okay, and you have to cover these three important dimensions in these 3 pages. So I would like to first, let's say, add one dimension here, how population leads to poverty increase. Okay, and I would argue in couple of three to 4 points here, right? Secondly, I would like to start with the second dimensions, like poverty leads to population increase. Okay, again, according to my content, I would have 3 to 4 different dimensions here. And thirdly, I would like to argue how poverty and population both are interdependent. Okay, so likewise, you can design the question accordingly. And beyond that, you may also add the fourth dimension here: what other factors are influencing the rise of both of these concepts. The other factors, like we have unemployment or something like this, right? So these 3 to 4 dimensions we need to cover in this question. If you are thorough with this, I would like to start with our content, how we can introduce, how we can conclude, and what body parts can be here. Okay. Yeah. The introduction can be very simple. It has various, you can say, types to introduce this question. Or in simplistic manner, you can start with simple way: data and facts, the quantity of population, the quantity of poverty we have in our country, or just like simple one of the introduction, like the relationship between population and poverty is very complex, and we cannot arrive at a simple cause and effect relation that we need to critically examine in the following way. So it can be a simplistic, you can say, introduction. Then the first dimension, poverty as the cause of population increase, I can argue in with the help of couple of points. Let's say, because of lack of education, the population is not aware with the use of contraceptives and family planning techniques and the importance of family planning and contraceptives. Because of that, ignorance, you can say, or illiteracy, the population would increase because of poverty. As poverty leads to lack of education and lack of education leads to ignorance towards family planning, population can increase. Secondly, I can argue like economic security. In many societies, especially primitive and agrarian societies, the families, they give birth to more and more children to help them in increasing their income. Okay, though these children are considered as a future working hands, and that's how the families, those are in poverty, especially agrarian societies, they give more birth to more children because of these helping hands who contribute to the more family income. Thirdly, limited healthcare, as the families are poor, they cannot afford the high end or specialized medical facilities, and that's how to let's say minimize the effect of greater death rates of the children or child death rate. They go for what you can say the increasing size of family, more births. So basically, poor families may not have access to adequate health, and that is how it leads to higher child mortality rate. And to compensate that higher child mortality rate, what they will do, they will increase the size of the family by increasing the birth rate. Okay, so on these points, I can argue that yes, poverty leads to lack of income, poverty leads to lack of education, poverty lead to lack of healthcare facilities, and all these 3 points ultimately they lead to increasing population. And the second dimension can be the population as the cause of poverty increase. As you can observe in any economy or any country, the resources are limited. The resources like we have minerals, we have jobs, employment, health and education facilities. And as the population start increasing, the crunch or the stress on the resources increases. The rate at which we are generating the you can say the services like health and education, the rate at which we are generating employment, it is much lower than the increase in the population. That's how, as the population rate is more than the employment rate, we can say the population can become a stress or drain on the existing resources, and that's how the resource scarcity is very important cause. Because of which the poverty increases. As the population will increase, resource crunch will occur, and that's how because of resource crunch, per head budgetary allocation on health, education, and improving lifestyle will be in deficit. And that's how unemployment will increase because of the jobs we are generating are much lower and much fewer than the increasing number of workforce or the population. And that's how because of, let's say, population or scarcity in resources and unemployment rises. And that's how it leads to what? Poverty. As the per capita income, per capita resources, per capita budgetary distribution on the population of the country, it will be minimal, and that's how it will lead to what? Again, poverty. So population as the cause of poverty we can justify with this couple of points. Beyond that, government is also influencing these two topics with the help of various initiatives. Like we have one employment generation important scheme called as Manrega. At the same time, some poverty alleviation schemes like Antyodaya Yojana, you can say urban livelihood mission. Beyond that, we have also the population control measures the government is taking place. Let's say hum do hamare do, like this one. So you can include these couple of schemes here, what government is doing in that regard. And lastly, you can conclude by saying that by providing few solutions how we can control population and how we can control the poverty. So your introduction and your conclusion should address both of these concepts. In introduction, you should not start only with population or poverty, rather both of these concepts should be given due justice in introduction. At the same time, you should provide solutions how we can control population and how we can control or eradicate poverty from India as a solution matter. Okay, so there should be some inclusive growth, sustainable development goals, and something like this in your introduction that will provide some philosophical understanding and visionary understanding of your personality to the examiner. So introduction can be, the conclusion can be how we can tackle these issues of increasing population rate, at the same time the existing poverty in India. Let's say, for example, what strategies can be those? The increasing education facilities, healthcare facilities, economic opportunities, and beyond that, the family planning, education, and population education is very important. And we can even go for the family planning and sex education or population education at the school level even. Okay, so we can reform our curricula, and we can also reform our syllabus and curricula, let's say by providing the vocational training to the student from the early age itself, right? So that's how we can conclude this question. And on this note, I would like to thank you very much for this question, and I'll meet you again with another question from Indian society itself. Thank you very much.